You wake up at 3 a.m. for no reason. No sound, no light, nothing wrong. Your heart is beating slightly faster than it should be, and somewhere in the back of your skull there is a low, formless feeling. Not quite fear, not quite dread, that you cannot name and cannot shake. You lie there staring at the ceiling and you think, why does this keep happening? The answer is not a sleep disorder. It is not stress. It is not your mattress or your phone or the coffee you had too late. The answer is something far older than any of those things. It is something that was already ancient before your great-great-grandmother was born. It is the brain you are using right now, the same brain that was built over millions of years to keep a very different kind of human alive in a very different kind of world. And it has never quite caught up to the one you actually live in. Here is the problem. Your brain thinks you live in a cave. Not literally, but functionally, structurally, evolutionarily, the organ sitting behind your eyes was shaped by an environment that stopped existing roughly 10,000 years ago. And every single day, in dozens of ways you barely notice, it is responding to a modern world using ancient software that was never designed for it. Neuroscientist David Eagleman has described the human brain as a kind of time traveler. A machine built for one era, dropped without instruction into another. The hardware is old, the world is new, and the gap between them is where most of your suffering lives. Start with that 3 a.m. wake-up. Your sleep architecture, the way your brain moves through stages of rest across the night, was not built for 8 uninterrupted hours in a temperature-controlled room. Historian Roger Ekirch spent over 20 years combing through pre-industrial diaries, court records, and literature, and he discovered something that overturned one of the most basic assumptions about human rest. Before artificial lighting became widespread, people did not sleep in one long block. They slept in 2 shorter segments, separated by an hour or 2 of quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night. They called it the first sleep and the second sleep. That middle-of-the-night waking was not insomnia. It was normal. People used it to pray, to reflect, to talk quietly with a partner, sometimes to visit a neighbor. It was a built-in feature of the human night, not a bug. And then artificial light arrived. Night became optional. The schedule compressed. And suddenly, millions of people began waking at 3 a.m., lying in the dark, convinced something was wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with you. Your brain is just following an older rhythm than your alarm clock is aware of. But that is only the beginning. Think about the last time you felt a spike of anxiety before sending an important email, or the way your chest tightens in a crowded room full of strangers, or the reason you cannot stop refreshing your phone even when you know there is nothing new to see. These are not character flaws. They are not signs of weakness. They are ancient systems doing exactly what they were designed to do, just in the wrong context. The system that drives all of it is called the amygdala. It is an almond-shaped cluster of neurons buried deep in your brain, and it is, in evolutionary terms, one of the oldest structures you carry. It does one thing with extraordinary efficiency. It detects threats, and it does not wait for the thinking parts of your brain to weigh in before it acts. By the time your prefrontal cortex has formed a coherent thought, your amygdala has already flooded your body with stress hormones and pointed every sense you have toward the source of danger. In a savanna environment, that speed was everything. A rustle in the grass that turned out to be nothing cost you a moment of elevated heart rate. A rustle in the grass that turned out to be a predator and you missed it, that cost you everything. So the amygdala learned to fire first and ask questions never. The problem is that your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a lion and a passive-aggressive reply from your boss. Both arrive as threat signals. Both trigger the same cascade. Your palms sweat. Your focus narrows. Your body prepares to run or fight. And then you have to sit in a meeting and act normal while your ancient brain screams that something is trying to kill you. Psychologist Rick Hanson calls this the negativity bias. The brain, he argues, is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. This was adaptive. A human ancestor who remembered where the danger was survived longer than one who mostly remembered where the good berries grew. But today, that same bias means your brain is logging and replaying criticism, failure, embarrassment, and social rejection with far more intensity than it stores praise, success, or safety. You are not pessimistic by choice, you are pessimistic by design. And then there is the matter of other people. Human beings are the most intensely social mammals that have ever lived. For the vast majority of your species' existence, being part of a group was not a preference. It was survival. A human alone on the savanna was a dead human. The group hunted together, defended together, shared resources, raised children collectively. To be ejected from that group, for any reason, was effectively a death sentence. Your brain learned to treat social rejection as a physical threat, because for a very long time, it was one. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman at UCLA ran a series of experiments using brain imaging technology to watch what happened when subjects were socially excluded. In his studies, something as simple as being left out of a ball-tossing game with strangers. What he found was striking. The same regions of the brain that process physical pain lit up when subjects experienced social exclusion. Not regions metaphorically related to pain. The same regions. Exactly the same. When someone leaves you out, when you are rejected, when you feel invisible in a room full of people, your brain is not being dramatic. It is experiencing something that, by every measure it has available, looks like being hurt. Because for most of human history, the experience of being excluded and the experience of being endangered were functionally the same thing. Now apply that to the modern world. You post something online and nobody responds. Your ancient brain registers it as social exclusion. You are not invited to a dinner your friends attended. Your amygdala notes it as potential banishment from the tribe. A stranger online says something cruel about you, and your nervous system responds as though you're standing in the community. The community on which your literal survival depends has just been threatened. This is why social media is not just annoying. For many people, it is genuinely dysregulating. It is flooding a system built for a small, stable group of roughly 150 people, the number anthropologist Robin Dunbar famously identified as the natural upper limit of meaningful human social networks, with thousands of signals, opinions, comparisons, and reactions every single day. Your brain was never built for that. It has no filter for it. It takes all of it seriously. And here is the counterintuitive twist. The more you try to suppress these ancient responses, the anxiety, the negativity bias, the social hypervigilance, the louder they often get. The modern prescription for a brain that is stuck in survival mode is usually more control, more optimization, more discipline, more hustle, more productivity. But what the research increasingly suggests is that the brain responds better to the opposite. To rest, to genuine human connection, to being in nature, to slow, repetitive physical movement, to long meals with people you trust. These are not wellness trends. They are ancient inputs that your ancient brain actually knows how to process. Anthropologist John Cacioppo spent decades studying loneliness and found that chronic social isolation does not just feel bad. It measurably accelerates physiological aging, disrupts sleep architecture, impairs immune function, and increases the risk of early death by roughly the same margin as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Your brain does not experience loneliness as a preference. It experiences it as an emergency, because it has millions of years of evidence that being alone is dangerous. Which brings you back to the ceiling. 3 a.m. Heart rate slightly elevated. That formless thing in your chest you could not name. What your brain was doing in that moment was not malfunction. It was maintenance. It was an ancient watchkeeping system doing what it has always done. Running a quiet scan of the darkness, checking the perimeter, making sure the threats your ancestors faced were not about to arrive. It found nothing, and it will do it again next week. You are not broken. You are not anxious because something is wrong with you. You are not wired for doom or pessimism or loneliness or dread. You are wired for a world that no longer exists. And that is a different problem entirely. Because it means the solution is not to fix yourself. It is to understand the machine you are running on, to know why it does what it does, to stop fighting it and start translating it. Tonight, when you lie in the dark at 3 a.m. and your heart beats a little faster than it should, you will know exactly what that is. It is a million years of human history, still on guard, still watching, still keeping you alive in a world that disappeared before your grandmother was born. And the strangest part is this: that ancient system, the one that wakes you, worries you, and makes you ache for connection, it is also the thing that made you human in the first place.